Welcome back to season 2 of the Impostor Syndrome Files. My name is Kim Menninger, and I am so grateful that you're joining us. When I started this podcast last year, my primary goal was to normalize the experience of imposter syndrome, to make it easier for us to talk about, and to access the support that we deserve. I am so grateful to everyone who has shared their stories with me, and I'm fascinated by the linkages between imposter syndrome and so many other facets of our lives. The conversations that we had last season led us in so many powerful directions. I'm excited to continue these conversations in season 2. As always, if you have a story to share, please reach out to me. I would love to interview you. And if I can ever support you on your own imposter syndrome journey, I'd love to connect on that too. Thanks again for being here. Welcome, Ashley. I'm really excited to talk to you today, and I'd love to start by learning a little bit more about you.
Hi, Kim. Thanks for having me. I'm an Integrative Health Coach and founder of Logan Wellness, and I work with women to help them reprioritize their health goals so they can be the best version of themselves.
Wonderful. And we're going to be talking, I'm really excited to talk to you about the connection between health and confidence. Before we go there, I just want to get your sense of what imposter syndrome means to you and whether it has shown up at all in your life or in your career.
Yeah, I think imposter syndrome to me means when we go through phases or periods of time where we doubt our skills or our talents or our accomplishments, and it leads to us feeling like we don't have a right to speak up or speak about our expertise. And I think imposter syndrome has nothing to do with confidence, because I think it's a universal feeling that we all experience from one time to another. So what I tell clients is if imposter syndrome comes up for you, it doesn't mean you're not confident. It doesn't mean you're not an expert. It doesn't mean that you're not accomplished or good at what you do. It's just almost a natural response that kicks in for most people, I would say.
Absolutely. That's how I see it as well. It is a very natural response to something new, something that just triggers us in that way that makes us doubt ourselves. So is this something you've experienced?
Oh, yes. I have experienced it. My background is in corporate advertising and marketing, where I worked for a decade plus and then took time to be a stay-at-home mom to my 3 kids. And when I was ready to sort of re-enter the workforce and start either going back to my corporate career, I wanted to do something different and really hone in on my passion of health and wellness. And at that point in time, I did have I was like, who am I to start my own business, to, be certified, and who am I to be an expert? I'm not a doctor. I don't have this long list of credentials. So that did come up for me. But then I recentered myself and reminded myself that it's not about credentials per se. It's about where my passion and interest lies and where I feel drawn to serve my purpose. And once I went through the year-long certification program, I did think, I'm totally qualified and accomplished to start my own business and to coach people. To share what I've learned, to share what works, what doesn't work for me, and hope to make a difference in somebody's life. And I look back on that time where if I had let the imposter syndrome or the fear of doing something new, I might not be where I am today as far as being fulfilled in my career. So that's a reminder and an example that I share with people, that it was just a response to me doing something new and going on a totally different career path.
Yeah, and I like what you say too about, had you given into that, you might not be where you are today. That's an important reminder to everyone listening too, that there may be some initial benefit to that self-protection instinct that kicks in, right, to keep us feeling safe and comfortable, but it doesn't get us where we want to go. And that what if, that long-term regret is so much more powerful than the fear that comes up in the beginning of something new.
Yeah, exactly. And what helped me too was a practice where I wrote down, what's the worst that can happen? If I go through a certification program, I start my own business, what's the worst that can happen? And I just listed everything big and small that I could think of. And then I went through that list and was like, I can handle that. I can overcome this. I'll figure that out. And I demystified the list of fears or the what ifs. And I think that's a very empowering exercise to do when you feel imposter syndrome coming up for you, because you'll figure it out 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10. You'll figure it out. You'll pivot. You'll find a solution. You'll deal with it. You'll handle it. We're so much stronger than sometimes we give ourselves credit for.
Absolutely. I think that's another great point too. I'm curious, just really thinking about the health and wellness piece of this too. We are in a world that it has lots of burnout. There's a lot of stress. A lot of us are putting the needs of others ahead of our own, especially right now during a pandemic where we're trying to homeschool children in some cases, trying to take care of everything that's going on and still tend to our jobs. I know from personal experience that I'm far less confident when I'm feeling like I'm not at my best physically, if I don't sleep well, or if I'm not feeling like I have the right level of energy. What do you see? What are you seeing out there just in the health and wellness space as it relates to confidence? And how would you connect those pieces?
Yeah, I think you hit on something really important. The pandemic has stretched all of us really thin as we have new demands on our day, on our schedule, on our life. And they're foundational pieces of health and wellness, just sort of, the brick and mortar of sleep, of nutrition, of movement. And those are the 3 things that just for physical health, are so important. And if our sleep starts to slide, that affects our dietary choices during the day, which impacts our motivation to move our bodies. And it becomes sort of a downhill spiral. And I think that can chip away at how good we feel about ourselves. And that affects how we relate to other people. So it sort of is a domino effect. Mm-hmm. And I think that does contribute to burnout as well, because when we're not feeling well in our bodies, when we're not mentally clear, when we're not emotionally stable, that's going to affect everything. And my approach is really to balance the mind, the body, and the soul, and to do practices and exercises and daily habits that really cultivate that balance, which will look different from day to day. It'll ebb and flow. But as far as confidence in your wellness and health, doing small things each day is so important for confidence, because even if it's just making small promises to yourself that these are the 3 small things I'm going to do today for myself, for my health and well-being, and being consistent with those small steps, following through on those promises to yourself. That's really what cultivates confidence and self-trust, because you're telling yourself, I keep promises to myself. And they don't have to be big, grand promises like I'm going to lose 30 pounds in a month, which is impossible, by the way. But, it's the little things each day that show ourselves, reflect back to ourselves that we deserve to feel good. We deserve to do these small things, to invest on a daily basis in how we look, feel, and show up each day.
I like that idea of promises too. And I know that there are a lot of stressors right now, but I'll give you just my own personal example. I've totally been letting my exercise routine go. The last few weeks in particular, I've been really distracted. There's a lot going on in the world right now. And last night I made a promise to myself that I would get up early this morning and use my treadmill, which has been sitting unused for a long time now. And I woke up this morning and there was a part of me that was like, oh, I could use a few extra minutes of sleep. And I was like, no, you know what? I told myself I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. And I got up and I did it. And now I feel so much better. I feel like, phew, I followed through. Right? I don't have that sense of guilt or a sense of shame. Not that we should feel that way either, but there is this positive reinforcement that comes with just honoring what we said we were going to do and what we really truly want to do.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't mean you have to wake up and run 6 miles on your treadmill. I mean, if you didn't say get a great night's sleep, you still want to move your body, own that too. And perhaps be like, you know what, I'm just going to walk for 30 minutes because I don't really have a run in me or whatever it may be. Because that's what I do. Like I'll say, this is my intention today is to go to the gym and do this type of workout. But if my sleep was disrupted or, I'm not feeling completely energized for an intense workout, I'll do a moderate workout. And I've still done, I still followed through. But I also listened to my body and I met myself, where I was at a certain point in time.
What would you say to somebody who just feels so disconnected from this priority, right? That they're just feeling like they don't have time. They are just don't have the luxury of being able to focus on this right now. There's too many other things to do. What do you say to somebody who just feels like, I know what you're saying, I agree with you, but there's just no way right now?
Yeah. To that, I would say start super small. I mean, it's really about doing the smallest of thing that you can do in a day, whether that is committing to, if it's your diet, for example, adding in a half a cup of spinach or a green or an extra serving of fruit a day. Just having an apple, if that's all you, or a handful of almonds, adding one healthy food a day, which takes no time. That's literally when you need an afternoon snack, like have an apple with almond butter. And if that's the one thing you do, it's still a positive step in the right direction. And same with movement. Even if it's walking around, walking to the mailbox 3 times a day, or when you need a break from your Zoom call, just going outside and sitting on your front steps and taking 10 deep breaths of fresh air, just something so small. Because I think the overwhelm kicks in when we feel like to prioritize our health and wellness, we have to be doing big things that take a lot of time. And that's not the case. A lot of times when you see someone who is just killing it with their workout, with their nutrition, with their mindset, they started in a lot of cases really small, and you're seeing the end result of a lot of really small steps. It's the same in business, right? When you see a super successful entrepreneur, we see them at the success phase. We didn't see the 500 failures that took them to get to that stage. So giving ourselves grace and compassion and recognizing that we can start really, really small, and those small steps, those small micro changes each day that don't take a lot of time, that don't disrupt, our schedule, can really have an impact long term, because you kind of add to it. It's a building process.
That's really helpful, because one of the things that I notice just in other areas that I coach on is how much we fall into the trap of either or thinking, right? Like either I'm going to run a marathon or I'm not going to move at all. Either I'm going to have a perfect diet or I'm just going to just eat whatever I want, right? There's just this, it's hard to, when you're in that mindset, imagine something in between those two things. And I love what you're saying, because it does become cumulative. All of these little tiny incremental steps build on each other, and you're moving yourself in a more positive direction longer term.
Exactly.
What else do you see in terms of key challenges, or what are you hearing from the people that are coming to you today?
I'm hearing a lot of overwhelm, kind of to your point earlier, feeling like there isn't time to prioritize self-care, and feeling really stretched. I think especially for working moms, like this is a very difficult time, because we feel pulled by our career and wanting to show up in our full capacity for that. But also we have children at home that need us more than ever. So I'm seeing a lot of that, like a lot of struggle with balance. And, to that, I just kind of go back to what we've talked about. It's being able to give yourself compassion and grace, and to recognize that this is a hard time we're all going through. And to avoid that, to your point, the either or thinking.
Yeah. And I also think too that, as cliche as this sounds, and I know we all sort of intellectually recognize this, we need to put our own oxygen masks on first, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we are running with an empty tank, how much can we really support the people around us that are depending on us, especially our children, right? And I know personally that I'm a better mother when I take care of myself. I'm a much better human. I'm a better wife, right? I'm a better entrepreneur, a friend when I feel better. And so sometimes I think that it's just a very reflexive response to say, I don't have time. And maybe in a day or a short period of time, we do have to expend more resources on something else. Maybe we do lose sleep for a short period of time because of something out of our control that needs to be addressed. But that's not a sustainable way of living. And we can't expect to be the person we want to be or produce the results we want to produce if we're constantly sacrificing our own overall well-being.
Yeah. And I think it's important for us to recognize the weak link. What tends to go first? For me, it's meal planning. As funny as that sounds, because I'm a health coach, but I have 3 kids, 2 of which are teenagers, and I have, they're boys, and they eat an enormous amount of food. So I can't keep food in the house enough. And so I've had to readjust because they're home more. They're eating more of their meals at home. And so I've realized, like, I have to prioritize, the meal planning, because there's more of a demand for that. Because that to me is the first thing that kind of goes. And so like this morning, I was like, it's Monday. I did a huge grocery store run, planned out the meals for the week. I know what we're going to be eating for the week. And I don't have to think about it anymore, but before, like kind of prior to, it would be like 5 o'clock. Oh, what are we going to have for dinner? Oh my gosh, I got to run to Whole Foods. I got to get, and now I know of myself that that's kind of the first thing that like comes loose, in my structure of a day. And so I've adjusted for that, and I know that. And so now I make sure on Monday mornings, like that's the first thing I do. So I'm prepared for the week, and I don't get in that cycle of like, what are we going to have for dinner? So that healthy meals are planned. I've already done the shopping. I know what we're having. They know what we're having because I have it in the kitchen on a little calendar. So everybody knows, we're all on the same page, literally, and there's no question. And I think that can be very helpful to know where you need extra attention. And if it's your workouts, for example, if that's like kind of the first thing that gets to the bottom of the list, then it's okay, look at your daily schedule. When am I going to work out? Even if it's for 10 minutes, even if it's like a quick 10-minute yoga flow, when am I going to do that in my day? Schedule it in the day, just like you would any other important meeting. And that way you have prioritized that for yourself, because it's that self-awareness around like, oh, when my day gets crazy, like the workouts just don't happen. And the next thing I know, it's been 10 days since I've moved my body in a meaningful way. So I find that to be really, really helpful. It's helped me, and I've seen it help clients as well.
I like that a lot. I think the self-awareness piece is really important because that allows us to, I think sometimes we just feel, and I know I speak for myself, if not others, sometimes it just feels chaotic, right? And you don't even know what the problem is. It just feels like everything's disorganized. And so to be able to take that first step of just observing what is that weakest link that you said, right? Like where am I consistently being challenged and being able to do the things that I want to do, and then allow yourself to be more proactive around that so that you're not always in that state of reacting like you're describing. And I completely agree. I have 2 boys too. And so it's not anything else that you see in relationship to confidence? Like, I know that is a component of what you do. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you think is important to talk about in terms of the connection between confidence and our overall health and well-being?
Yeah, I think a mindfulness practice is really important for staying connected to your confidence, because I think we're all innately confident. I believe that. I think we over time can have overlays that sort of diminish our confidence, but it's in there. I think humans are just born confident. It's what gets overlaid over time that can kind of diminish that confidence. And being aware of thought patterns and those negative thoughts that might come into play that might make a person feel less confident is really important. And a mindfulness practice is a great way to put space between your thoughts and you, because our thoughts are not necessarily who we are as a person. And it's really fascinating to hear people are like, well, I can't meditate, because my mind is just everywhere, monkey mind. And that's the point of meditating, is to sit and observe the monkey mind. And that's good. Like, because that is a sign that you're aware of what your mind, the scatteredness of your thoughts. And that's the first step of a mindfulness practice, is just being aware of your monkey mind and where your thoughts are going. And over time, as you observe thoughts, you begin to distance yourself from them and be like, that one doesn't work for me. That negative thought, that doesn't work for me. I'm going to let that go. And I'm going to move on to a different thought that serves me and who I want to be and where I want to go. And that's empowering. That gives us choice to respond and not react in a given moment. But it's a practice. It's not something you just, wake up and you're mindful. I mean, it's a daily practice. It's a workout for your mind, just like going to gym's a workout for your body. You have to do it consistently to maintain it, or you'll fall back into the old patterns. Just like if you don't go to the gym, well, eventually you're going to lose your fitness gains. And with mindfulness is the same way. So I think having a consistent mindfulness practice is really key for confidence and mental health, really.
Do you recommend any of the apps that are out there? Like, do you think it's helpful to have some type of tool if you're just getting started?
Yeah. Calm is a great app. Headspace. I'm all for the apps and tools, guided meditations. I think we're all different. It's just knowing what works for you. Again, just like a diet plan or a fitness plan, a meditation practice is going to be unique to each of us because we're all wired differently. And I like to sit in silence and just totally be quiet. But I have, my best friend she does her guided meditation every day. Like, that's her jam and that works for her. So it's just trying different things and being open and just being open to what resonates, what kind of fits your personality and how it's just showing up and doing it consistently. So pick something that you're going to look forward to doing. That's the key.
Yeah, I think that's a good reminder too, that there isn't a one size fits all. approach to this. If it isn't working for you the way you're doing it today, there's likely another way to do it that would be a better fit. I really like what you said about us being born confident too. I don't really hear many people talk about that, but I feel like anyone who has had children and sees their toddler learning to walk, right, will know that we are born confident. Because if you think about the effort, the number of times they fall down and get back up again, right? I just think about them learning to talk and walk and all the things that they do. Just goes to show that we have so much more potential than we think we do. And if at that age we just decided, oh, I can never do it, or I'm just good at walking, right? I'm just good at it, so I'm not going to keep going, right? Like, where would we be today? So I think so much of this too is a reminder that just because we're starting something new right now doesn't mean that this is something actually new, right? It's an extension of an ongoing journey. We're always learning something new. We're always being faced with new challenges. And so much of it is just the perspective that we keep when we're in those.
Yeah, I love that. We all need to channel our inner toddler. Because it's true, the tenacity of a toddler to learn all these like fundamental skills of being human, it's really remarkable. I agree with you on that. And and just to remind ourselves that we can do it, we can do it. And failure is just part of the journey. As much as we try to avoid it, and it's unpleasant at times to fail, we get through it and learn from it. And it's the reframing of failure too, which makes it not be a hit on our confidence, so to speak. It's all how we reframe failure into learning.
Exactly. And if our sole focus is on avoiding failure, what are we not doing? Like, we're making our world really small when we do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. This has been such a great conversation. I really haven't talked much about this whole health and confidence connection. So I really appreciate this. What motivated you to want to tell your story? What are you hoping that people will take away from this today?
I hope people take away that they can make big changes in their life with small steps each day. Big change is created one day at a time, making small, impactful steps. And it's been done. I mean, there's so many examples, and I think we've all faced failure. And imposter syndrome. And it's reframing it and moving forward.
I love it. I think it's such a great, great reminder not to try to boil the ocean when we're trying to make these changes. Thank you so much, Ashley. This has been such a great conversation. I really appreciate your being here.
Oh, thank you, Kim. This was great. I enjoyed it.
Thanks again for listening today. If you're struggling with imposter syndrome and you'd like additional support, check out the show notes for more resources or contact me directly. I would love to help you. And if you'd like to tell your story, I would love to interview you. You will find my contact info in the show notes, so reach out anytime. Thanks again.